You have gotten very good at wanting things quietly, at feeling the enormousness of what you actually want, and then, before the feeling can fully form, doing the thing you learned to do, the quick, practiced, preemptive negotiation with yourself. The realistic adjustment. The you know better than this recalibration that reminds you of all the times you let yourself want something fully and what happened after. You have learned the specific technique of keeping hope at a manageable size so that when things don't arrive at the size you originally wanted them, the disappointment is proportional rather than devastating. You tell yourself you are being mature, realistic, appropriately grounded. You call it wisdom. It is not wisdom. It is a protection strategy. And it was built from pain that was real and disappointment that was genuine, and the entirely understandable human response to having hoped too large and been given something too small. You learned the lesson the experiences were teaching. Don't want more than seems safely available. Don't believe so fully in the thing you want most that its absence becomes unbearable. Keep the ceiling in place. Keep yourself small enough to fit inside the range of what is realistically possible, so that reality cannot exceed what you can emotionally sustain. This strategy has served you. It kept you functional through periods when the full size of your hope would have been too heavy to carry alongside ordinary life. It prevented certain categories of devastation. It allowed you to keep going. And it is the exact thing that has been creating distance between you and what is coming. Not as punishment, as physics. Because what is approaching in the next several days is enormous. And enormous things require an open field to land in. And you, carefully, understandably, with good reason, have been making the field smaller. Here is what the universe does not do. It does not punish doubt. It does not withhold good things from people who can't sustain positive thinking with sufficient consistency. That is not how this works. The people who have been through the hardest things and carry the most protective smallness around their hope are not disadvantaged by the universe. The universe is not tracking your belief levels and delivering accordingly. But there is something that is true about the relationship between the size of your openness and the size of what you can receive, and it is worth understanding clearly because it has everything to do with the next few days. What is approaching your life right now has a specific size. It has been assembled through the entire arc of everything that April moved and cleared and restructured and delivered. It has been moving through the channels that the Venus-Jupiter opening created, through the Uranus in Gemini architecture that rewrote what is possible, through the karmic accounting that Venus on the nodes settled, through the space that was cleared by everything that was released. It has been shaped by all of that, and its shape is not the small, safe, realistically scaled version of what you have been allowing yourself to want. Its shape is the full version, the real version, the one you stopped letting yourself picture because picturing it fully felt too dangerous. And when something enormous approaches a field that has been carefully made small, when the full-size thing arrives at the carefully maintained smallness of hope, one of two things happens. Either the thing lands at the size the field can hold, which means you receive a reduced version of what was always meant to be enormous. Or the thing is recognized by the field as too large for the available space and routes around the ceiling you built, looking for the entry point that matches its size, which means the delay continues until you expand. The ceiling is not protecting you from disappointment. It is protecting you from the full size of what was always meant for you. I want to name what is coming, not as a specific object, not as a person or an amount of money or a particular external circumstance, but as a feeling. Because the feeling is the truth of it, and the feeling is what you have been trying not to let yourself feel fully. The feeling of finally being met. Not almost met, not partially met, not met in the specific categories where you decided it was okay to expect genuine connection while keeping the others carefully small. Fully met. In the place you actually live, at the level of who you actually are, with the specific quality of recognition that the deepest part of you has been waiting for without saying so out loud, because saying it out loud made it too visible and therefore too vulnerable to not arriving. The feeling of finally arriving. The specific, particular, been a long time coming quality of stepping into a version of your life that feels like the size it was always supposed to be. The room that was always the right size for you. The purpose that fits without requiring you to make yourself smaller. The abundance that reflects the actual scale of what you bring rather than the carefully modest scale of what you have been willing to ask for. The connection that matches the genuine fullness of your capacity for connection rather than the cautiously reduced version you have been accepting as reasonable. The feeling of the full version, not the compromise, not the version you talked yourself into because the full version felt like too much to hope for. The actual real, this is what you always knew was possible version of the life you are here to live. That is what is coming, in the next few days, entering its final approach through the architecture that the last several extraordinary weeks have been assembling specifically for this purpose. Why the next few days specifically matter is not complicated once you understand the architecture. May opened with the energetic function of receiving, the month built to deliver what April cleared and prepared the space for. The fresh cycle of May 1st established the conditions. The specific days now unfolding are the days in which what is arriving is in its final approach, the last narrowing of the gap between where it has been and where you are. The channels through which it is approaching are the ones that were opened by the recent extraordinary shifts. Uranus entering Gemini created pathways that did not previously exist for certain kinds of arrival, sudden, unexpected, from directions you were not monitoring, with the quality of something that feels both new and inevitable. Venus hitting the karmic nodes activated the threads between you and what has karmic significance for your path forward. The Saturn accounting that has been underway settled the balances in your favor in ways that have been building since before the last several weeks. All of these channels are open. All of them are carrying what is yours toward you. What the arrival does not need is more time, more preparation, more of you doing more work to become more worthy of what has already been determined to be yours. What the arrival needs, the specific thing that closes the final gap between its approach and its landing in your actual circumstances, is the open field, the expanded belief, the ceiling removed. And the next few days are the specific window in which that removal makes the most direct and consequential difference. Because the thing is in its final approach right now. The distance is days, not months. And whether it arrives at full size or arrives as the reduced version that fits through the ceiling is a decision available to you right now, in this moment, with this specific awareness that the ceiling is there and you built it and you can choose to raise it. The cost of keeping the ceiling in place is specific, and I want to name it directly because the gentleness of the way I have been describing all of this should not obscure how real the cost is. If you enter the next few days still practicing the careful smallness around hope, still doing the quick realistic adjustment, still preemptively negotiating yourself down from the full size of what you want, still keeping the field small enough to prevent the size of disappointment you have survived before, you will receive a reduced version of what is arriving. Not nothing, not punishment, the reduced version. The version that fits through the ceiling you maintained. And the reduced version, while real and while genuinely belonging to you, will have that specific quality that all reduced versions of enormous things have. The slight wrongness of something that is almost right. The persistent sense that there is more to this than what arrived. The feeling, which you will recognize because it is the feeling you have been carrying, of something that should be larger than it is presenting as. That is not what you deserve, and that is not what is approaching. What is approaching is the full version, and the full version requires the full field. The expansion available in the next few days is not the expansion of pretending to feel more certain than you do. It is not the performance of optimism you don't genuinely feel. It is the specific, chosen, courageous expansion of deciding to let yourself want the full version fully. To stop the quick preemptive negotiation. To notice when you are automatically scaling down your hope and choose, in that moment, to hold the full size instead. That choice, made repeatedly in the specific days ahead, is the energetic expansion that allows the arrival to land at the size it was always meant to be. You are allowed to want the full version. I need that to land not as permission I am giving you, but as the actual truth of your situation. Not as a risk you are taking, as the accurate, proportional, appropriate response to what is coming. Because what is coming is the full version. It has always been the full version. The universe did not prepare a smaller version for you because it estimated your faith was insufficient. It prepared the real thing. And receiving the real thing requires you to be open to the real thing, at the size it actually is, which is the size you always knew it was supposed to be before the disappointments taught you to negotiate that size back down. The hope you learned to keep small, that hope was always pointing towards something enormous. The knowing that has persisted through every round of careful adjustment, the part of you that kept returning to the full vision, even when you had 100 good reasons to revise it downward, that knowing was accurate. It has always been accurate. The full version is real. It is coming, and it is close. What is coming in the next few days is not the version of your life you have been willing to believe in lately. It is the version you have been privately, quietly, afraid to say out loud believing in for years. The one that feels the right size. The one where the purpose you carry has a genuine home, and the love you are capable of has a genuine match, and the abundance that reflects who you actually are has finally been allowed to show up. The one where you stop feeling slightly too large for the container, and the container is finally the right size. That version is arriving, in the next few days, through channels that are open in ways they have not been open before, through the space that was cleared by everything that April moved through you. And the only thing standing between you and receiving it at full size is the ceiling. The carefully constructed, understandably maintained, well-intentioned but no longer serving ceiling on your own hope. Raise it. Now. Not when you feel safer. Not when you have more evidence. Now, in the days before the arrival, in the window when expanding the field still accelerates rather than simply accommodates what is coming. You are allowed to want this. You are allowed to believe it is coming. You are allowed to hold the full size of it, the actual, enormous, finally the right container, full size of the version of your life you always knew was possible. It is closer than you have been letting yourself believe, and it is arriving at exactly the size you stopped letting yourself want. Let it. Remove the ceiling. Receive it whole.